Something about the house felt different the morning Elena left. The sun had just begun to rise, sending soft golden light through the kitchen window. The air smelled faintly of coffee and toast, but even that familiar comfort couldn't hide the strange stillness in the home. It was the kind of quiet that made every small sound feel louder: the ticking of the wall clock, the creak of the wooden floor, the gentle hum of the refrigerator. Alina Carter stood near the front door with her suitcase beside her. She wore a navy blue coat and held her phone in one hand, checking the time again and again. Her taxi would arrive in 5 minutes. Daniel watched her from the hallway. For a moment, simply stood there, taking in the sight of his wife, preparing to leave. They had been married for 10 years, yet recently it felt like time was slipping away faster than ever. Life had become busy, full of schedules and responsibilities. Elena's work had changed everything. A year ago, she received a big promotion at her company. It was a proud moment for their family. She had worked hard for years to reach that position. The job came with respect, better pay, and exciting opportunities. But it also came with business trips. Many of them at first, the trips were short. 2 days here, 3 days there. But slowly they became longer and more frequent. Daniel supported her. He truly did. Yet sometimes, late at night when he sat alone in the living room after Lily had gone to bed, he wondered if the house had started losing a piece of its warmth. Daniel. Elena's voice brought him back to the present. He blinked and walked toward her. Yeah. Did you see my charger? Daniel smiled slightly and picked it up from the kitchen counter. You left it next to the coffee machine again. Elena laughed softly. A tired but warm laugh. I swear my brain stops working when I travel. Daniel handed it to her. Your brain works fine, he said gently. You just try to do too much. For a second, Elena didn't answer. She only looked at him with a small, thoughtful expression. Then Lily's voice suddenly filled the hallway. Mom. The 8-year-old girl ran toward her mother in fuzzy pink socks, her hair still messy from sleep. She wrapped her arms tightly around Elena's waist. You're leaving already? Elena knelt down and hugged her daughter. Just for a few days, she said softly. 5 days, remember? But 5 days is long, Lily murmured. Elena brushed a strand of hair from Lily's face. It will go fast. When I come back, we'll do something fun together. Lily nodded, but her grip on her mother didn't loosen. Daniel watched the moment quietly. He knew Lily missed Elena when she traveled. But Lily rarely complained. She was a cheerful child who tried to understand grown-up responsibilities. Still, Daniel sometimes noticed the way Lily looked at the empty chair at dinner. The taxi horn sounded outside. Elena sighed. That's my ride. She stood up and picked up her suitcase, at the door. She turned back to them. Take care of each other, okay? Daniel nodded. We always do. Elena leaned forward and kissed him on the cheek. Then hugged Lily once more. I love you, she whispered. Love you too, Lily replied. Daniel opened the door. Cold morning air slipped into the hallway as Elena stepped outside. The taxi driver placed her suitcase in the trunk while she climbed into the back seat. Through the window, she waved. Daniel and Lily stood on the porch watching the car drive away until it disappeared. Around the corner, then the quiet returned. They went back inside the house. Suddenly felt bigger. Daniel walked into the kitchen and poured himself another cup of coffee. Lily sat at the table quietly, swinging her legs. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Lily asked a small question. Dad, does Mom like her job more than being at home? Daniel almost choked on his coffee. He set the mug down and turned toward her. Why would you ask that? Lily shrugged slightly. She's gone a lot. Daniel walked over and sat beside her. That doesn't mean she loves us less, he said gently. Your mom works hard for this family. I know, Lily said quickly. I'm proud of her. Daniel smiled softly. Me too. Lily traced circles on the table with her finger. But sometimes she looks tired, she added quietly. Daniel didn't answer right away. He had noticed it too. Late night stop phone calls during dinner, emails, even on weekends. Elena had always been strong and ambitious. But lately, the pressure seemed heavier. Daniel stood and stretched. Well, he said, trying to brighten the mood, it's just you and me for a few days. Lily smiled slightly. What should we do? Daniel thought for a moment. How about pancakes? Lily's eyes lit up. Chocolate chip. Of course. They spent the next half hour cooking together. Flour dusted the counter, chocolate chips scattered everywhere. And Lily laughed when one pancake came out shaped like a heart. Daniel flipped another pancake and glanced at the empty seat at the table. He imagined Elena sitting there, smiling at the mess. For a moment, he wished she could see this. After breakfast, Lily grabbed her backpack for school. Daniel drove her through the quiet streets, while the city slowly woke up around them. When they reached the school gate, Lily unbuckled her seatbelt but paused before getting out. Dad? Yes. When Mom comes back, can we do something special? Daniel looked at her. What kind of special? Lily thought carefully. Something that makes her really happy. Daniel leaned back in his seat. What gave you that idea? Lily shrugged again. I just think she needs a surprise. Daniel watched the school building as children ran through the gate. A surprise? It sounded simple, but the more he thought about it, the more the idea stayed in his mind. Okay, he said slowly. Let's think about it. Lily smiled brightly and jumped out of the car. Bye, Dad. Bye, kiddo. Daniel drove home alone. The quiet house greeted him again. He walked through the living room. Noticing small things he usually ignored, the blanket folded neatly on the couch, Elena's favorite mug near the sink, the photo of their family at the beach, sitting on the shelf. He picked up the photo. It was taken 3 years ago. Lily was smaller then, sitting on Daniel's shoulders while Elena laughed beside them. The wind had blown her hair across her face, and she looked carefree. Daniel stared at the image longer than he expected. Life had felt simpler back then. He placed the photo back, carefully. Maybe Lily was right. Maybe Elena needed a reminder of those simple moments. Later that afternoon, Daniel picked Lily up from school. The moment she entered the car, she asked, "Did you think about the surprise?" Daniel chuckled. "You're serious about this, huh?" "Yes." He smiled. "Okay, let's start planning." Lily clapped her hands excitedly. "What should we do?" Daniel tapped the steering wheel thoughtfully. "We need to think about what Mom loves most." Lily immediately began listing ideas. Flowers, music, movie nights, family dinners. And she likes when we tell funny stories. Daniel laughed. "That's a lot of things. But surprises can have many parts," Lily said wisely. Daniel looked at her. "Impressed? You might be a genius." Lily grinned. That evening, they sat together in the living room with paper and crayons, writing ideas. Lily drew hearts and stars around the page while Daniel made a simple list. Decorations. Favorite food. Music. Family memories. Suddenly, Lily asked another question. "Dad, what if we remind Mom about all the happy times we had?" Daniel paused. "What do you mean?" "Like photos," Lily said. "Grandma says pictures keep memories alive." Daniel felt something spark in his mind. Photos, they had dozens stored in drawers, albums and phones. Moments from birthdays, holidays, trips, and everyday life. Maybe those memories could become something meaningful, something that showed Elena she didn't need to chase happiness far away, because it was already here. Daniel smiled slowly. "I think you just gave me the best idea." Lily leaned forward eagerly. "What is it?" Daniel looked around the room. Then he imagined the walls filled with their story. Their family, their love. He leaned closer and whispered like it was a secret mission. "We're going to build the biggest surprise Mom has ever seen." Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. But at that moment, neither of them realized how powerful that small plan would become. Because sometimes the simplest surprises carry the deepest meaning. And in just a few days, this quiet house would hold a moment none of them would ever forget. The day after Elena left, Daniel and Lily woke up with a quiet excitement in the house. The air felt different, now full of purpose and possibility. Daniel looked around at the kitchen, the living room. The small details Alina had left behind, her favorite mug on the counter, her slippers near the door, the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the hallway. It was these little things that reminded him of her and made him realize just how much the family missed her presence. Lily bounced into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes but already full of energy. "Dad," she said, "we have to start planning the surprise today." Her small voice carried a sense of urgency, the kind only a child with a big idea could possess. Daniel smiled and nodded. "You're right," he said. "We can't waste any time." They sat at the kitchen table with paper, pencils, and a notebook. Lily immediately began sketching ideas, flowers, lights, and drawings of the family. Daniel opened a notebook he hadn't touched in months and began jotting down a list. They brainstormed everything Alina loved, her favorite music, the meals she always enjoyed, the little things that made her smile. Every suggestion Lily made, Daniel wrote down, knowing this would be a surprise she'd never forget. They started with decorations. Daniel spent a few hours moving furniture and clearing spaces in the living room and dining area. Lily helped him hang strings of lights near the windows and around the doorway. Her tiny hands trembled slightly as she tried to get the knots right, and Daniel laughed softly when one of the lights slipped. "It's okay," he said. "A little imperfection makes it more real. Mom will love it." Next came the food. Daniel remembered Elena's favorite meals, the ones that always brought a smile to her face after long days at work. He spent an entire afternoon cooking and preparing, storing everything carefully in the refrigerator and freezer so it would be ready when she returned. Lily helped him measure ingredients and stir sauces. She was clumsy at first, spilling a little flour on the counter and on her shirt, but Daniel didn't mind. Every mess felt like part of the process, part of the plan to make Alina feel loved. While they worked, Daniel thought about Alina. He remembered how she had once whispered one evening, "Exhausted after a long day at work, I miss how things used to feel. Simple calm. Together." Those words lingered in his mind. Maybe the surprise shouldn't be just about decorations or food. Maybe it should remind Alina of those moments, of the warmth of home and the love they shared as a family. That evening, Lily brought Daniel a small wooden box she had found in her room. Inside were old family photos. They were snapshots of life before the busy schedules, before Elena's frequent business trips. There was a picture of Lily at her 5th birthday, covered in cake and giggling as Alina helped her blow out the candles. There was another from their last beach trip, Daniel and Alina holding hands, Lily running ahead into the waves. Lily looked up at Daniel and said softly, "Dad, can we use these?" Daniel's chest tightened. He nodded. "Yes, we're going to make something beautiful." That night they began creating a memory wall in the living room. They arranged the photos carefully, each one telling a story, capturing a moment of laughter, love, or adventure. Daniel felt a strange mix of nostalgia and warmth as he worked. He noticed how quickly Lily grew up, how much she had changed since those photos were taken. And yet the happiness in those images reminded him that their love was constant, even if life had become hectic as the memory wall took shape. Daniel and Lily added touches of creativity. Lily drew small hearts and stars around some of the photos. Daniel strung more lights around the frame, making the wall glow softly in the evening. Every step of the process made the house feel more alive. Every detail added depth to the plan, transforming the empty, quiet space into something warm and inviting. They worked late into the night. At one point, Daniel paused and looked at Lily, her face glowing in the soft light of the lamps and candles they had set up. "You know," he said quietly, "Mom is going to cry when she sees this." Lily smiled. "I hope so. But happy tears." Daniel nodded. He hoped for the same. He hoped Alina would remember what truly mattered, what made their family strong. The longer he worked on the surprise, the more he realized that it wasn't just about decorations or photos or food. It was about bringing back the feeling of home, of connection, of love. The next day, they focused on finishing touches. Daniel cleaned every surface until it shined. Lily arranged flowers in vases throughout the house. They put candles on the dining table, ready to light them when Alina returned. They played her favorite music quietly in the background, imagining the moment she would step into the room and see it all. Everything seemed perfect, or as perfect as a surprise could be. But just as they were about to finish, Daniel's phone buzzed. He picked it up and saw a short message from Alina. "My meeting ended early. I might come home tomorrow instead of the day after." Daniel's heart raced. "Tomorrow?" Lily whispered wide-eyed. "But the surprise isn't ready." Daniel took a deep breath. He looked around the living room. Half the memory wall was done. Decorations were scattered on the floor. The food was prepared, but not yet set. The candles were ready, but the table wasn't fully arranged. "We have one night," he said quietly, more to himself than to Lily. Lily's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and worry. "Then we have to work fast." And fast they did. The two of them moved quickly with purpose and determination. Daniel hung the remaining photos, carefully aligning each frame. Lily adjusted the lights, her small hands working tirelessly. They worked together in silence, only speaking when necessary. The house was full of energy now, the quiet replaced with focused activity. During a short break, Daniel looked at Lily. "You know," he said, "this surprise is more than just decorations or pictures. It's about reminding Mom of what we love about her. It's about showing her she's appreciated and that she belongs here, with us." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "I want her to be really happy," she said simply. Daniel smiled. "We'll make sure she is." The clock ticked late into the night. Their tired eyes burned, but their hearts were full. Every small action felt meaningful. Every detail brought them closer to the moment they had imagined. By midnight, the living room was almost complete. The lights glowed softly around the photos. Flowers were arranged in every corner. The table was set with care, ready for Elena's return. The memory wall stood proudly, a testament to years of love, laughter, family moments. Daniel stepped back and looked around, feeling a quiet satisfaction. But inside, he also felt a nervous anticipation. He wondered how Elena would react. Would she be touched? Would she feel the love they had poured into this plan? Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, she's coming tomorrow. Are you ready?" Daniel knelt beside her. "Almost," he said. "But we have to stay patient. We'll be ready in time." They went to bed that night, exhausted but excited. Sleep came in short bursts, filled with dreams of Elena walking into the room, seeing the surprise, and feeling the warmth of home again. Meanwhile, Elena was on her flight, unaware of the transformation happening in her home. She thought she was returning from a simple business trip. But Daniel and Lily's plan was about to turn an ordinary evening into something unforgettable. The night passed slowly, each minute bringing them closer to the moment of reunion. Daniel and Lily lay awake, imagining the look on Elena's face, hoping their hard work and love would reach her heart. They didn't yet know that Elena was carrying her own surprise back home, something that would add an unexpected twist to the evening. But for now, the house was ready. The decorations were set. The memory wall glowed softly. The table was prepared. And in the quiet before dawn, Daniel and Lily silently promised themselves that this surprise would show Elena just how much she was loved, missed, and appreciated. Little did they know, this small plan, born out of longing and love, would become a defining moment for their family, a moment that would change the way they felt about home, about each other, and about the life they were building together. And so, with the house ready and hearts full of hope, Daniel and Lily waited for the morning for Elena's arrival, and for the surprise that would quietly, yet profoundly change their lives forever. The next morning arrived quickly, brighter than anyone expected. Sunlight streamed through the windows, bouncing off the walls that Daniel and Lily had transformed the night before. The house no longer felt empty. Every corner, every surface carried a sense of warmth and anticipation. The memory wall glowed softly with the photos of happier times, capturing moments of laughter, family trips, and quiet evenings that had once been taken for granted. Daniel stood in the living room, straightening a few candles on the dining table, glancing at the lights strung across the walls, and smiled. For the first time in months, the house felt alive. Lily bounced in front of the table, her small hands clasped together. "Dad, it's perfect," she exclaimed. "Mom is going to love it." Her excitement was contagious, filling the room with energy. Daniel laughed quietly. "It's more than perfect," he said. "It's from the heart. That's what matters." They checked everything one last time. Candles were placed just right, flowers arranged in vases along the windowsill, and Elena's favorite music softly played from the speakers. The table was set with plates, silverware, and the food Daniel had prepared the day before, everything waiting for Elena's return. They even left a few small notes hidden among the photos, little reminders of love and appreciation that they knew would make her smile. Just as they were finishing, Daniel's phone buzzed. He picked it up, heart racing slightly, and saw a message from Elena. "Flight landed. Heading home. Be there soon." His stomach twisted with a mix of excitement and nerves. He looked at Lily, whose eyes were wide with anticipation. "She's coming," he whispered. Lily clapped her hands softly. "Hurry, Dad. We need to hide." She ran toward the living room and ducked behind the couch. Daniel dimmed the lights slightly, creating a warm, glowing ambiance. Every detail mattered now. Every element of their plan ready to create the perfect welcome. A few minutes later, the familiar sound of a car door closing reached the front door. Daniel held his breath. The front door opened slowly, and Elena stepped inside, pulling her suitcase behind her. She looked tired from the journey, her coat slightly rumpled, but her eyes immediately caught the glow of the lights in the living room. "Daniel." "Lily," she called softly. There was a note of confusion in her voice, but also something else in unspoken curiosity. She walked forward cautiously, and Daniel flipped the switch to turn on the lights fully. "Welcome home," he said, his voice calm but full of emotion. Elena froze. Her eyes widened as she took in the sight before her. The living room was transformed. The memory wall, glowing softly with photographs, told the story of their life together: birthdays, vacations, simple moments of laughter. Candles flickered on the dining table, and flowers brightened every corner. Drawings from Lily added a touch of childlike joy to the scene, creating a feeling of warmth and love that words could not describe. Lily ran forward, her small arms wrapping tightly around her mother's waist. "Surprise, Mom!" she exclaimed, her voice full of pure joy. Elena's hands covered her mouth, and for a moment she could only stare. Tears welled up in her eyes as she slowly reached out to touch the photos on the wall. Recognizing each moment, each memory, and every small detail Daniel and Lily had worked on. Her chest rose and fell as she tried to speak but found words failing her. Daniel stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her gently. "We wanted to show you how much we missed you," he said softly, "and remind you how much we love you." Elena's voice trembled. "You? You did all this for me?" Her eyes were full of tears now, but they shone with a light Daniel hadn't seen in months. "All this," she whispered, gesturing to the memory wall, the table, the lights, everything surrounding her. "Yes," Daniel said, "every bit of it." For a long moment, Elena stood in silence, taking it all in. She knelt down to hug Lily again, feeling the weight of missing those small, everyday moments with her family. She breathed in deeply, and Daniel could see the emotions she had been holding back finally surfacing. The stress of travel, the late nights at work, the endless meetings, it all melted away in that single warm embrace. Finally, Elena turned to Daniel, her eyes glistening. "I didn't realize how much I needed this," she whispered. "I've been so caught up in work and trying to do everything right that I forgot what really matters. I forgot that home. And you too. Is my happiness." Daniel held her hand gently. "We know, and we wanted to remind you." Elena smiled through her tears. "You did more than that. You brought me back to myself." Lily tugged at Elena's sleeve. "Mom, I'm glad you're home. I missed you." Elena hugged her daughter tightly. "I missed you too, sweetie. More than you know." The day continued slowly after that first emotional moment. They sat together in the living room, talking quietly, sharing stories, and laughing over little memories that had once seemed ordinary but now felt extraordinary. Daniel noticed how relaxed Alina was. The tiredness from her business trip seemed to fade as she shared these moments with them. Then Alina paused. Looking at the memory wall again, her eyes landed on a photo of their first vacation together as a family. "Do you remember this day?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "How could I forget? You were carrying Lily on your shoulders and she kept trying to jump into the waves before we even reached the water." Alina laughed softly. "I remember thinking, this is exactly how life should feel. Simple, happy, together." Daniel reached for her hand. "And it still can, if we make time for it." Lena nodded, her eyes lingering on the photos, taking in each memory. Then she looked at Daniel with a mixture of love and something deeper, something unspoken but understood. "I have to tell you something," she said softly. Daniel felt a flutter of curiosity mixed with apprehension. "What is it?" he asked. Alina took a deep breath, her hands resting on his shoulders. "I turned down the promotion." Daniel blinked in surprise. "The promotion?" She nodded. "They wanted me to travel even more, months at a time. But on the flight home, I realized something. I realized that this being here with you and Lily's what matters most. This is the life I don't want to miss." Lily squealed softly and jumped into Elena's arms. "Yay, you're staying more at home." Daniel smiled, relief and joy flooding him. "I'm glad you made that choice," he said softly. "We wanted you to be happy, and now you are." The three of them spent the afternoon together. They lit the candles on the dining table, shared the food Daniel had prepared, and played Elena's favorite music in the background. No phones, no distractions, no rushing, just the quiet comfort of being together. Every laugh, every small gesture felt amplified by the effort and thought that had gone into the surprise later. As the sun began to set, Alina sat on the couch with Lily on one side and Daniel on the other. She leaned her head against Daniel's shoulder, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in months. "Thank you," she whispered, "for reminding me what's important, for bringing me home." Daniel kissed her forehead gently. "You were never gone, not really. But sometimes we all need a reminder." Lily snuggled closer to both of them, and together they watched the lights from the memory wall flicker softly in the dimming room. It wasn't just a wall of photos anymore, it was a wall of love, of memories, of moments that reminded them all of the life they had built together and the family they cherished. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Daniel and Alina sat quietly in the living room. The house was peaceful, the air filled with the faint scent of flowers and candles. Alina rested her head on Daniel's shoulder, feeling more connected to him than she had in months. I think this was the best surprise ever," she said softly. Daniel smiled, looking around the room at the memory wall, the decorations, the careful details they had created. "Not just the best surprise," he said, "but the beginning of something new. A reminder that we don't have to wait for big moments to be happy. We have everything we need right here." Alina closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the house and the love of her family wash over her. For the first time in months, she felt truly at peace. She had been reminded that happiness wasn't about promotions, trips, or work. It was about love, connection, and being present with the people who mattered most. The next few days continued with laughter, quiet dinners, and long conversations. They spent time together as a family, playing games, sharing stories, and creating new memories to add to the wall. The surprise had done more than just welcome Alina home. It had reminded them all of the simple joy of being together, the importance of love over work, and the power of thoughtful gestures to heal, connect, and transform. By the end of the week, the house felt brighter than ever. The quiet that had once been heavy with absence was now filled with laughter, love, and warmth. Daniel, Alina, and Lily had been reminded of what truly mattered, and it wasn't something that could be bought, scheduled, or accomplished. It was the small moments of care, connection, and presents that made life rich and meaningful. As they sat together one evening looking at the glowing memory wall, Alina whispered, "I'm home, really home, for the first time in months." Daniel squeezed her hand gently, and we're all home together. The three of them leaned back on the couch, basking in the quiet glow of the lights, the warmth of the room, and the unspoken understanding that this moment, this evening, this family, this love would be remembered forever.